Good afternoon. I am so sorry that I cannot be with you today, but my civic duty to serve on a jury has me occupied. And fortunately, we live in a time of technology, so I can speak to you through this video. So let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Julia Reynolds, and I am the Community Relations Specialist at Greenwood Public Library. I believe wholeheartedly that literacy changes lives. And I'm pretty fortunate that my position at GPL allows me to connect with government and business leaders on a weekly basis and share how libraries are valuable to our society. So I just love my job. And I am thrilled to have the opportunity today to share with you how my life has taken a turn in the last few years, all because of a simple question. But I don't want to get ahead of myself, so let me give you a little backstory. I grew up in Sullivan, Indiana. Sullivan is about a half hour south of Terre Haute. It's fairly rural with a history in mining. It is a town where everyone knows everyone, and a change in the wind can make the front of the newspaper. And I'll be honest, I kind of loved that. I want to talk a little bit about my high school experience, and two things are true about my time as a student at Sullivan High School. The first is that I had a positive and fulfilling experience. School and grades were definitely a priority for me, but I also filled all of my out-of-school hours with all kinds of activities to plump up my 4 years. I joined Spell Bowl and Quiz Bowl because academic competitions came pretty naturally to me. I played on the tennis team for 4 years. I pivoted when I didn't make the dance team, and I joined band in high school as a percussionist, and I even became a field leader of the marching band during football season. I played the school fight song on the drum set during a basketball game. I sang in choir, and I had my moment my senior year in drama class when I was cast as Snoopy in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, and got to sing and tap dance on top of a doghouse. My parents still talk about this. I was honored to receive the Lilly Scholarship, and I attended Indiana State University to achieve my longtime goal of becoming a teacher. All of this was so good. But the second thing that is true from my time at Sullivan, if I am being honest with myself and you, is that I often played it safe and I did what was expected. I just listed for you all these wonderful things and all these wonderful memories that I have of high school, experiences that helped me achieve some big goals. But let me also explain the real side of it. I played tennis for 4 years because my older sister had played tennis and it was just easy to follow in her shoes. I wanted to be field leader of the marching band because, again, my older sister had done the same. I said I played the fight song on the drum set at a basketball game, and I did, but I did it one time, and it was so terrifying that I vowed I would never do it again, and I let all of the guy percussionists take over. The reason it was so exciting for me to be Snoopy in You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, was because I backed out on auditioning for the show choir, Golden Arrow Singers. I convinced myself that I already knew who was going to make the choir, and it was not going to be me, and I so feared rejection of not being chosen that I did not try out 3 years in a row. And during my senior year, I started having some tinges of doubt that teaching might not be the career I really wanted. But everyone had told me for years that I would make such an excellent teacher and that we needed more teachers. So I did what was expected. I didn't want to disappoint anyone, even if it meant maybe disappointing myself. And so what was the obvious college to go to if you were from Sullivan and you wanted to be a teacher? Indiana State, the only college I applied to. Now, do I regret these experiences? Honestly, no. My high school years were safe and rewarding and often really fun. I loved being in Indiana State Sycamore. That's where I met my husband. But I chose to live by the philosophy that the wisest choices were often the predictable ones, the comfortable ones. Taking a risk meant a possibility for failure, and who wants failure? It's embarrassing. I was just a girl from a rural Indiana town. So I convinced myself that I was lucky for the achievements I had, and I should not expect anything above the norm. And that means I missed out on some opportunities, like trying a different sport or exploring some summer options. When I saw a poster in my ISU dorm about college internships at Disney World, I was a huge Disney fan. I immediately listened to that inner voice saying that was an opportunity for city kids who know how to maneuver moving multiple states away. It felt too adventurous for someone who thought playing it safe is how you reach the goal line. There were openings at Holiday World for singers in their summer shows, something I would have loved to do, but surely I wouldn't be chosen. I'm not a professional singer. And again, how would I manage finding a place to live for a summer in an unknown area? So I never applied. But as I became an adult, things started to change. And some of that, I will admit, is because I married my opposite. My husband is the epitome of a risk taker and adventurer. His first career was as a corporate pilot. And he chose that career not because of a family legacy or because everyone could see him in that role, but because he liked to drive fast things. Now, he's now an entrepreneur, perhaps the riskiest of careers, but he challenged my constant response of, that could never be me, and made me consider the question, why not me? I still remember him learning that I was a Lilly Scholar and him exclaiming, you got full tuition paid for and you only applied to ISU? You didn't try for Notre Dame? When I had been teaching for 4 years and I just didn't love it, I said to him, if only I had gotten my degree in library science, that's really what I want to do. And I missed my chance. He said, you haven't missed your chance. Why not get the degree? Why not you? So I did. When I was a high school librarian and I said, I really wish I could bring big name authors to my school so my students could meet them in person. But where would I even start? I don't even know how to do any of this. I don't even know how to book a flight for someone. He said, why can't you? And I had almost 20 authors come to Greenwood High School during my 14 years as their librarian. When a detour seemed too inconvenient for me or an idea too frivolous or lofty, my husband pushed me with the question, why not you? Over time, I've started asking myself that question. I don't need him to do it anymore. And life has gotten very exciting, and that's what led me to the White House. So let's talk about the White House for a minute. Did you know that the White House staff chooses U.S. citizens every year to decorate the White House for Christmas? It's an exclusive group. Only about 150 to 200 regular, everyday citizens are chosen through an application process. When I learned about this 7 years ago, I thought it sounded like the most amazing experience ever. I love design and style and holiday decorating. And what could be better than decorating the White House? What could be better than being in the White House? And when the back of my mind started to whisper, you're just a girl from a rural Indiana town, or you're just a librarian, or you're not a professional decorator, I instinctively asked, why not me? So I applied 6 years in a row until I was finally chosen in the fall of 2024. Now, did not being chosen for 5 years sour my experience? Not at all. I spent 6 days in the White House and their warehouse with practically unfettered access to the 2 main floors of the house. I was assigned to the library of the White House. That was no coincidence, them assigning a librarian to the library. And I spent my days hot gluing candy decorations, building winter scene dioramas, making wreaths, folding paper doves. We had about 2,600 paper doves, and styling ceramic Christmas trees, all underneath George Washington's sword from the Revolutionary War, which hangs on the wall of the library. I stood a nose length away from that infamous portrait of Washington that Dolly Madison had saved when the White House was being burnt down. I stood in the spots where FDR gave his fireside chats and where Abraham Lincoln sat and read the papers at night. I walked through the room used as the Situation Room in World War II. I stood on the porch of the White House. And I saw President Joe Biden on the South Lawn. And regardless of your political opinions, standing near your president is very humbling. I was featured on HGTV's White House Christmas special. It turns out being a librarian in the White House Library is a good hook for a story. And when I turned to a Secret Service agent in the room who was watching my interview and I said, "How am I doing?" He broke his composure for a moment. He gave me 2 thumbs up and he said, "You're crushing it." That was by far one of the most exciting experiences of my life. My 14-year-old son asked me a few months ago, "Are we still talking about the White House?" To which I replied, "I will never stop talking about the White House." But that's because I know that the Julia from high school wouldn't have had the courage of applying for fear of not being chosen. When really not being chosen for something might just mean that you'll be chosen when it means the most. And that White House experience has led to some pretty amazing opportunities. This past year, Mayor Mark Myers, the mayor of Greenwood, asked me to decorate the city building and his office for Christmas. And even though I wasn't a designer at the White House, I was just a worker bee, I was honored that he asked me to do this, and I made it kind of an Old Town Greenwood project. I dreamed up big decorations. I called in my artistic and talented friends to help create what I called "'Twas the Night Before Christmas in the City." And I've kept in touch with friends that I made at the White House. And this year, a group of 12 of us applied and were accepted to help decorate floats in the Rose Bowl parade. I'd never flown cross country by myself. I'd never Ubered alone before. And I'm not a florist with parade experience. But gosh darn it, I'm an adult and I can do it. And what an opportunity it was. And it sounded like so much fun. So why not me? So at the end of December this past year, I was gluing carnations to giant pieces of coral for the UPS float. I was placing roses at the base of Mount Rushmore on the South Dakota float. And I made a QR code sign completely out of onion seeds for a California float. Oh, and I'm a pretty big IU fan. Never could have imagined that IU was going to be in the Rose Bowl when I made these plans months ago. So I asked if I could put something on the IU float. So there was a row of pumpkin seeds on that float, thanks to me. I just had to ask. Now, this might age me a little bit. I know my boys at home think I do these things because I try to be cool. But there was a trend going around Instagram and TikTok last year called Coffee with My Younger Self. And people would film themselves drinking coffee and then share a list of what they would tell their younger selves if they could. So I'm closing that with mine. You're going to take the safe route that others expect. And sometimes you'll enjoy it, and sometimes you won't. Keep working hard to bring your best and try to stand out. Never stop reading. Literacy changes lives. But look stylish while you're doing it because you can do both. You can be a stylish reader. You're going to start asking, why not me? Because growing up in a rural Midwest town is something to be proud of, not seen as a hindrance. You're going to help decorate the White House for Christmas. You're going to the Rose Parade, and it is going to surpass all other expectations and lead to other opportunities. And pretty soon, in addition to asking, why not me, you're also going to start asking, what's next? Thank you.